Hello, so this is my video demo for PA3. The demo is pretty much the same as it was last week. So you can see, there we go, one more, boom, and one more. Alright, so the only difference, the biggest difference is that this is now happening in, all the good stuff is happening with managers and, well, to be more specific, this is all now being done by sprite batches. And there's a single sprite batch manager that's controlling all the updating and rendering. So first up, just a general overall class diagram. This is just to confirm that I hit all the features. So you can see the managers for image, texture, and sprite box, SB node manager, sprite batches, and the dealing classes for those exact same things as well. So when I got the texture, image, and sprite working, the next step was to go to the SB node manager. So for that, you have your sprite base, which is the abstract class. You have the SB node, which holds a reference to sprite base, and you've got the manager that manages these SB nodes. So you can see we've basically got our update and render happening at one place. One thing right off the bat is that I didn't so far attach any name to an SB node manager because it didn't really make sense right now, especially if it's supposed to be generic. So you can see here that for update and for render, we're just walking the active lists and rendering as we go. So that was pretty straightforward. And then the last diagram we have here is the sprite batch. This, as advertised, was definitely the hardest part of the assignment. But here we go. So, alright, you've got your sprite batch manager. This is a sprite batch. A sprite batch holds a reference to an SB node manager. So you've got that over here. I should probably hide this just to make it clear. Alright, so a particular sprite batch will manage a node manager, which in turn manages a bunch of SB nodes. So we've got the hierarchy going around all over there. And again, the sprite batch manager has update and render. So now you can render and update again just using one call. You can basically render multiple sprite batches. So this is again, so we've got a name over here. If I just take a look at the sprite batch, yeah. So you've got names. So this is more for, again, for demo purposes. I've divided it up into UFO, crab, squid, octopus, and the box. Everything else is pretty straightforward. And if I go into the game now, you can see that we have our sprites initialized as before. We've got 5 SB node managers. These are going to be our sprite batches later on. These are going to be attached to the sprite batch later on, and so all the managers are created here. The 5 SB node managers are initialized here. They're attached to the sprite batch manager, so this can be done now or it can be done later. It doesn't matter since they're just references, as long as they get loaded later on. So you can see now that all the images are being added using the managers, the textures are being added using managers. And finally, when we add the sprites, we're also using the managers here. We're using the find function for the image manager, and we've basically eliminated all those new calls that we had, those hundreds or thousands of new calls that we had earlier. So everything else is pretty much the same. Finally, we've got a couple of sprite boxes here as well. So there's a default color of white if you don't specify it. That's why the boxes in the demo are initially white, and they change color later on. And finally, now here we go. So this is where we're sort of categorizing them into different sprites. So the different batches, excuse me. So you've got the UFO manager. It's attached all the 4 corners. Squid manager is getting the squids. We're attaching the crab to the crab manager, octopus, and the boxes. And these, remember, have already been attached to the sprite manager above. So in update, this is just to move those things around as it was last week. But here we go. one single line, the sprite batch manager will update, and there's the same thing for the draw as well. So let's map just to sort of drive it home. You've got a sprite batch for this. You've got a sprite batch for these two guys. You've got a sprite batch for these two guys. You've got a sprite batch for these red. By the way, just as another disclaimer, I am totally messing up the octopus and the squid. I think I'm using them in the wrong, you know, sort of things. So just bear with that. And finally, we had a sprite batch for the two boxes as well. So this was definitely a very, very tricky assignment, but it was also really, really enjoyable. I think the UML really helped at the end because I think before this I hadn't really explored the Visual Studio UMLs that much. I was mostly drawing diagrams on paper, but you can see that, sort of hiding and showing stuff, and it really clears things up. So I guess that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye bye.